The following is a Productions original series.
Hello and welcome to Walk and Roll Live. I'm Doug Vincent. Addie Rich is here. Hello.
Hello.
Our podcast is dedicated to amplifying the voices of the disability community. I am a polio survivor, and Addie
is upon arrival cerebral palsy. So there you go.
Brought all that with her.
I did.
Yes. So how was your week?
It was good. The weather has been up and down. It's starting to be hot, cold. And if anybody listened last week, we had the computer saga.
Yes. I wanted an update on the saga.
Yes. So the computer saga finally concluded yesterday at 11 a.m. So nothing like a Friday sliding into home, and as many of you can imagine.
So you're getting all caught up?
I'm as caught up as humanly possible. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, work in progress.
It's a work in progress. Just in time to travel next week.
So, what did you do with all that extra time, other than obsess and fret and?
Yeah, that's my best version. Worked on some plot twist stuff. Spoiled the dogs. Wondered how long, because every day they would literally be like, "Okay, it'll be there tomorrow by 12."
Yeah.
So then I'm like loafing the house until 12.
Well,
then sending.
I was just going to say, it's hard to probably really dive into something knowing that, you might have to stop it halfway through to get to the real work, right?
So I wasn't like as productive if I had taken a vacation and been like, all right, I'm free and I'm going to just enjoy this. It literally was hurry up and wait, and then obsess about how much more is getting slathered on because it's another day. But I'm grateful. Universe doesn't make mistakes, so maybe I needed a minute to like reset and rest that I wouldn't have done if I didn't have that. So we're going with that thought.
And now you have a big week coming up.
I do. I'm about to get on a plane, so yay. And then I get to see my coworkers. For next week, we're going to Jacksonville, Florida. And we haven't been in person for 2 years. And I get to meet some bosses I've never met. So that'll be fun.
And you're a little anxious about that?
I was going to say, pray for me that my pants fit.
And of course, the nature of what we do here at Walk and Roll Live, I have to ask you about that. I know that some of your anxiety comes from working there for the last couple of years, and these people don't have any idea about your disability. So there's, and I think we all can relate to that. There's a little anxiety about all of a sudden, how are they going to react to that?
How does the competency change when they cannot synthesize your look with your production? Like that as a human, they're like, oh wait, what? Yeah. So I'm bracing for impact. The anxiety in me probably feeds it up to much more than it's going to be.
I was going to say.
However,
yeah, it's still there.
Begin.
And then,
for sure.
Just making sure the people that don't know, Addie works from home and has, even pre-COVID, been doing it for
2009.
Yeah, quite a while now. So, so that's why she hadn't seen her bosses in 2 years.
Right.
She's not ducking into a cubicle every time they walk down the hall.
Right. Oh, geez. No. And our company went through a merger. So these are new bosses that came on with the merger. Our bosses basically got swapped out from the former company into these new people. And I mean, some of them, we've done video chats, but if I'm sitting at a desk, you don't know what I'm sitting in, right? The assumption will be desk chair until I roll up in there and I'm like, hey, yo. And then they're like, whoa.
Well, you wonder too, and I guess we'll never know the answer, and maybe there is no conversation, but you wonder if somebody's going. I have to choose my word carefully here, but there's not a conversation that warns them, but I wonder if there's been a conversation about that, and whether they were kind of advised of what's going on.
I am curious. I mean, I think they first gathered it when I said, hey, when you rent the car, it has to be big enough for a wheelchair, plus all of us, plus the thing. But you know what I mean? Like that in theory, and that with a person attached to it is different, right? Whose wheelchair is it? In that conversation, you're not tying it to me. And then when I show up and it's me, you're like, oh, well. I mean, of course, all my girls that already know me and we've been together are like, the drink cart is coming.
That's awesome. You know, and then for me, if I was in this situation, I would, I guess in a perfect world, I would think there was no conversation. Doesn't need to be a conversation. And when they meet you, you know, and they won't give it a second thought, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's a
perfect
possibility.
world.
You know,
In a perfect world.
Yeah.
That's all right. Brace for option 2 and hope for option 1. Let's say it that way.
Yeah. And I think that even if it's, you know, a surprise, let's say at first, I think that will pass very quickly. You know, I just think it's with anybody, you know.
Yeah. So. Once my personality comes out and it's the same person that they knew, I'm just sitting lower than they thought I did, then I hope it'll.
Well, see, I experienced that a lot in radio because I was on the radio. Nobody saw me, you know, but then from time to time they would see you like a live broadcast or something and you could see it on their face, you know, and I don't think it wasn't just the disability. It was a lot of things. You know, you hear somebody on the radio and you immediately come up with a picture. And if you've listened to them for any amount of time, you kind of form this picture forms over time, right? And then when you meet somebody, it's like, nope, they're not tall and blonde and whatever, you know, they're this, that.
Yeah. Well, and think about it even with us. Like partly how I knew it was you from years ago was your voice. I was like, no, that is my Doug because his voice is the same, you know, because many years had passed.
There was a big difference in hairstyle.
Well, that's the truth. But dude, I have gray hair now. And when you knew me, I was just a little thing. So.
And I have none.
How was your week?
It was good. Had coffee with the dog handler guys that I have coffee with from time to time. And it's so fun. And I mentioned this before with the stories and all that. Well, it kind of dawned on me as I was sitting there listening to them all. And we're sharing different stories back and forth. But it's like this ongoing episode of MASH.
Yeah.
Because they're talking about very, you know, similar things. They're talking about, you know, how they acquired quote unquote things, you know, in the Army, and how they went about it. And, you know, they were telling a story about this one outfit needed plywood. And I guess plywood was like gold, you know, where they were.
Yeah.
And so they were at a, you know, bar and everybody's, you know, they don't have all their, like if they're brass, they don't have all that stuff on. They're kind of dressed down, you know, at the bar. Yeah. And they find out that this guy's in supply. Well, they meet him and they chat him up and, hey, can I buy you a drink? And, you know, pretty soon, can I buy you another drink? Can I buy it?
Yeah. And then can I have lots of plywood? Yeah.
And then they say, you know, I got to be over here, but God, I don't have a vehicle. You know, and the guy they've been buying, oh, here, take my truck. And they hand him the keys. They take the truck, go to the place, load it up with the plywood, take it, bring the truck back, come back. Hey, can you want another drink? This whole thing, and they have no idea that they got the plywood. God. You know, so it's just things
Little
like that.
Bad boys.
Yes.
No, but those. I feel like that is kind of like I have a lot of military friends, and I feel like that kind of is the camaraderie and the shtick of the thing, right? Like they all know it's going to happen. Somebody is going to have that story. It's just how is it acquired, or some version of that story.
Yes, and it's in there. I've spent dinners and coffees with them, and story after story, and it's not the same stories over and over and over again. Oh. Every time there's some new ones and new angles, so it's always a good time.
That's really fun.
We honor our mothers at the Veterans Village this week. We had special clothes for mothers that were, you know, for them only. Usually we have a table with clothes on. We're like telling the men, not about you this week. Move on, you know. So
keeping on.
Yes. Had a raffle for them with some prizes, and everybody got something. We had little bags with, you know, some nice things for the moms. So happy Mother's Day. I want to thank you thank you to Alexis Maison for coming on and sharing her story. Another really kind of unique story. I think that was the first
Amazing.
time. Yeah. We've had somebody fall 5 stories, survive, and you know, in that recovery, which it's, you know, very early still, really.
Yeah. But I mean, the strides she's made, you would think it was longer along. It's the like serious nod to like human resilience, right? And the power of positive thinking. So
we'll keep you up to date on her progress too. Looking forward to seeing what else comes up. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. I don't know if I've mentioned it too much, but I did start a TikTok.
People, we're on TikTok.
I don't even know what to call it anymore. I want to say channel, but I'm sure that's not it. That's
TikTok
my old guy coming out.
Or something.
Yeah. So that's up. So, if you go and follow us, it's going well. I'm getting
that's awesome.
A lot of people following that I don't know. Some of my other platforms mostly are friends that I've had all along for years. So it's interesting to see a lot of new people and all that. So come and join the community. Coming up today, it's an interview with DJ Horner, Daniels Horner with USARC, which is United States Adaptive Recreation Center. They're right here in Southern California in the mountains above. I was first made aware of them years ago. I always wanted to go skiing. That was one of the things that I really wanted to do. There wasn't a lot of things that I felt like I missed, being disabled. But riding a bike was another one. And then going skiing, and there was a couple of failed attempts, but finally I learned about USARC and went a few years ago and got to ski. It was awesome. It was every bit as exciting as I thought it would be. And so they do that kind of thing, but so much more. And it kind of learned in this interview all the things that they do, and it's crazy. I think I'm gonna do a couple more things with them coming up,
right?
That don't involve sub-zero temperatures. So we'll be right back to learn all about USARC in just a moment after this word from Ugyar Professional Training.
At Ugyar Professional Training, we know that your greatest asset is your team. Investing in their development, knowledge, and happiness is essential for your business's success and growth. To achieve new heights, it's important to hire intelligent, talented individuals and empower them to excel in their areas of strength and passion. Ugyar is committed to transforming your employees into happier, more productive, and fulfilled individuals. When your team thrives, your business prospers. Wise leaders understand that providing team members with opportunities to shine in their strengths unlocks untapped potential. Elevate your team with Ugyar Professional Training and witness the growth of your business.
From the Ugyar Professional Training Studios, you're listening to Walk and Roll Live, Disability Stories.
The struggle's real, gotta keep it tight. Disabled but not defined by the fight. We're unstoppable, breaking through the walls, turning limitations into standing tall. The world may...
Hello and welcome back to Walk and Roll Live. I'm Doug. Addie is here, and our guest for this week is DJ Horner from USARC. Tell us exactly what USARC is. Just very, very quick description of what you guys do. And also, we, at the top of our show, before we go to break and come back to you, we do our disability status. So whatever that is for you, let us know that.
So my name's DJ. I am the programs coordinator for the United States Adaptive Recreation Center. So we are a nonprofit organization based out of Big Bear, California. We are actually based at the base area of a ski resort. So that is a big part of what we do. But overall, our mission is to provide hobbies and activities for individuals with cognitive and physical disabilities to basically get outside and recreate outside and help create hobbies and things to look forward to for people to get out and create healthy lifestyles. So being that we're at a ski resort, during the months of December through the end of March, we do skiing, snowboarding, any kind of snow sports. And that's really where the company started. And then we went from there into our summer sports. So we do water skiing, fishing, sailing, kayaking, paddleboarding, tubing, basically anything you can think of on the lake. And then just recently we've added quite a few other things, with some more on the horizon. So, but yeah, our goal is getting people outside and helping people to create, active, healthy lifestyles. So,
All right. Looking forward to hearing about all of that in more detail. So are you a person with a disability?
I am not. So I am an instructor. I'm actually one of the lead instructor. I head up all of our trainings and whatnot, to give you a better idea of our organization and a little bit of how it works. We have 4 year-round staff, that help with a lot of like the program's development, the budget, the financial side of everything, along with just going to things like Triumph Foundations, Wheelchair Sports Festival, and Adaptive Sports Festivals and things like that. So we have 4 year-round staff, and then we have a seasonal staff of between about 4 to 8, depending on the season and depending on the year, and what's in the budget. So,
Do you have volunteers that help out?
That being said, we work with a pretty large group of volunteers. So we have a group. It averages about 100 to 120 that help out in the winter season. And then our summer season, about half of those come out to help out with that. And then we have a few other fundraisers throughout the year that we have some other special volunteers that come out and help for just for those events. So
I'm curious about the twists and turns maybe that your life took to bring you to USARC. How was that?
It just kind of fell in my lap originally. So I graduated high school. I moved to North Carolina for a year to go to school. Decided that North Carolina isn't where I wanted to be. Moved back to California. Worked for a real estate and accounting firm for a couple of years. Among a few other part-time jobs, one of which was REI. And in the break room of REI, for the employee break room, there was a flyer in there that said, "Come volunteer with USARC." And each day you volunteer, you get a day ticket to ski for free. And, that was really enticing.
That was a hot ticket.
That was really enticing for, myself, who was an avid snowboarder at the time, who really didn't have the funds to be an avid snowboarder at the time. So, and then I've always had a heart for helping people. So I got up here, volunteered. Actually, my brother and I were both working at REI, and then both came up to volunteer. In our first season, we actually both ended up being awarded with the Rookie Volunteer of the Year. So we put in a lot of time, a lot of lessons up here for our first season. And we were just ultimately just on fire for it. We loved helping people to enjoy what we love to enjoy, right?
Found your passion. I like it.
So it was a pretty easy sell for us. And then push came to shove. We were like, oh, well, we're coming up to Big Bear so much, we might as well look for a place to stay. And then a place to stay turned into, hey, I work at a real estate and accounting firm. I might as well look and see how much it is to buy a place. Yeah. So we bought a place, and before you know it, we ended up here on staff. And he was on staff for a few years. I worked for the mountain ski school for a couple of years while volunteering here as well, and then worked my way onto staff here. And then that's all she wrote.
Yeah.
And so, here you are.
Real estate and accounting behind you now?
Sorry, what?
Is there real estate and accounting behind you now?
Pretty much. I mean, I own my own house, and I am looking at other opportunities to kind of make that money go further. But yeah, no, this is my full-time gig, and I love it, and I wouldn't change it for anything. So,
so let's talk about some of the things, specifically. What can people expect when they come there? What kind of recreational activities?
So we talked a little bit about winter. So winter was really our bread and butter when we first started. which was back in the late 80s. We were one of the few programs across the U.S. that were kind of like the pioneers of adaptive snow sports. So that's really what developed the program as a whole in the beginning. And then over the years, we just strive to keep up with the technology and the progression of getting people out there and doing our best to create as much independence and freedom as possible on the slopes. So to give you an idea, just some of the equipment. So we work with all cognitive and physical disabilities. So on the cognitive side of things, we work with a lot of autism, Down syndrome, ADD, ADHD, a whole slew of other ones, but those are some of the common ones. And for adaptive accommodations for that, we have things as simple as like a tether, which we can have our instructor ski behind and have an attachment point to the student so that we can help control speed, control turns, especially for those that don't have the cognitive ability to avoid people or to control their own speed or avoid objects. So that's probably one of our more common ways to teach on the cognitive side of things. We also have what's called the CASS hold, which is CASS, which stands for the California Adaptive Ski School, which, fun fact, was our name way back in the day. But we can ski backwards as the instructor with ski poles that are attached together, and ski in front of somebody to, again, help hold focus, attention, coach people through those learning portions of very early skiing in a controlled environment where we can control their speed and turns and make sure that we're avoiding collisions and things like that. So there's a few other ones, but those are our main ways to adapt, at least the very beginning, for cognitive disabilities. And then going into physical disabilities, we work with anything. So it could be like MS, it could be spinal cord injury, spina bifida, cerebral palsy, and then a whole slew of the other ones, but those are just some of the main ones that we see quite frequently. But we have things like a slider, for instance. So somebody with cerebral palsy or maybe a lower level spinal cord injury, we have basically a walker on skis that would allow somebody to be able to brace themselves on a extra piece of equipment. Like it has a whole forearm strap and everything to like help support somebody's weight, especially if they have weak or limited control of their lower limbs. So we have the slider. We also have stand-up outriggers, which are like Canadian crutches with a ski on the bottom of them. Again, that works towards independence with that. And they can progress from the slider to stand-up outriggers to eventually having maybe one rigger on their weaker side or vice versa, stronger. It doesn't really matter. But that also helps to accommodate for any kind of limb loss, and especially in the lower extremities. So work with quite a lot. But
do you ever find yourself, DJ, do you ever find yourself having to adapt the adaptive equipment to somebody that you haven't, had an adaptation for?
Yeah, feels like that. Yes. So part of our training is we do study into a lot of the disabilities and really try to understand what you're actually working with, whether that be So whether that be control issues, whether that be muscle like spasms or anything like that, and there's all kinds of different ways to accommodate most of the things out there, and then ultimately through the rest of our equipment, we can really accommodate quite just about everyone. So So getting into the sit equipment, we have a few different types. The bi-ski let's start with the most independent. So something like a monoski is essentially a seat on top of a single ski that has like a mountain bike shock on it. So it absorbs a lot of the impact. But being that it is one ski, it's basically like the ski is about the width of your hand.
So you need core strength and those kind of things to keep yourself up. That would not
a
be
lot more balance, a lot more.
That would not be for me, but yes.
Yes. So for those that are looking for more independence, the monoski actually can be completely independent.
That's the one I did. I came up years ago, and that's the one I did. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a learning curve, pretty similar to snowboarding. Early on is pretty difficult to learn. You typically end up falling a bit more the first day, but once you pick it up, it is one of those feelings that's pretty much unmatched. Some people have equated it to the closest thing to flying that they've ever felt. So
I tell people all the time, and I always preface this by saying, I'm not bragging. It just happened. But for whatever reason, I took to that so quickly. I went from the, I don't know what we call it these days, the little bunny slope, whatever that slope is, right down where the lift picks you up.
Yep.
And we skipped whatever's next and went right to intermediate. And I just felt at home in that thing.
That's awesome.
Yep. And sometimes it happens like that. It's pretty wild, especially with lower level spinal cord injuries like T10 to T12, especially like even like T8 to T12, that has a lot of their core function, like in trunk control and balance. Full arm control is kind of a must for spinal or for mono skiing. So a lot of folks with those lower level injuries, especially if they participated in other sports, can typically pick it up pretty quickly. I've had more than a few that within their first day or two were able to control their speed on.
They were like, okay, leave me alone.
Yeah,
that was fun. Absolutely.
And
that's awesome.
And for those folks, I mean, independence is our goal. And any steps we can take toward that is really where we're at, and helping people to meet their own goals. So if they're coming up once a season, maybe mono skiing isn't really their best option. But if they're willing to put in a little bit of time and work, then typically mono skiing is one of the better options for anybody who fits into that category. So a little bit of trunk control, a little bit of core, and then full arm function is really what's required for mono skiing.
Interesting.
So typically our cutoff for that is around T4, which is right around the nipple line. And the reason for that is any higher than that, you start getting into hand and arm control function, which is really difficult. And like already for a T4 to be able to find your balance and control everything from basically your chest up is very difficult. So although it is doable for some folks at the T4 level, I would say more commonly like T6 and lower is more often successful.
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, I'm going to back you up for a second though, because can you tell us who actually started like the program and why they started it, or was it a passion, a purpose, or what happened? Maybe.
Or do you want to jump in on that? Yeah, I'll let my executive director go into the very origins of it.
Oh, good.
But this is Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
The
We're bringing
executive
you on.
director.
Did you know you were
for
going to be on a
United States
podcast?
Adaptive Recreation Center.
Huh?
I said, did you know you were going to be on a podcast today?
Oh, no. Well, that's all right. I was listening.
Good.
So back in 1983, Sally Pritchard was her name, who founded our organization, and she put together it was like the amateur ski association. And we got some pilot money from the surplus money from the 1984 Olympics that were held here in LA.
Oh, cool.
And that had started the pilot program in 1983 here at Bear Mountain. And then it kind of was just ski clubs kind of coming together and coming up to the slopes and bringing people out. Very small operation. And then 1989, it became a full-time program here at Bear Mountain.
Amazing. And was she passionate about the disability community, or like what made her say, oh, we need this for this community?
Yeah, she just recently passed away, and there was like a lot of history that was at her funeral about it. And I think she just saw a need, like, hey, like there is a need for people with disabilities to hit the slope. She was an avid skier. She brought Kelly Malkowitz in, and Kelly was our first executive director. And she, started out with Sally and David Briery was another player in that game, that they just found this need and they said, let's do it. And Bear Mountain was more than accommodating. And to this day, Big Bear Mountain Resorts has been nothing but an amazing partnership with us. And so, yeah, it started way back when they saw a need for something and they made it happen.
Amazing.
In the early days, was there much in the way of adaptive equipment?
Not so much.
Yeah.
I remember when I started, which was like back in 2006, that walker on skis that DJ was talking about was literally a walker bolted to skis.
Right.
Like
innovation. Necessity is the mother of innovation, right? So
absolutely. And the mono and the sit skis were literally sleds on the ground.
Yeah.
Like they were like the sleds with the little like ski poles.
Yeah.
Like
They look like big thumbtacks, and you basically just jammed it into the snow and hoped that your shoulder held on.
So yeah, adaptive equipment was, looks very different back.
Right. Evolution is a tremendous thing. I can see a guy in his garage like welding stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, this will happen.
I know. I went up and tried up in Central California somewhere up to a ski resort, and they didn't have any kind of adaptive equipment. So what we did is I walked on crutches and braces. So what they did is they found the smallest skis that they could, like a child's skis, and they fixed them to the bottom of my crutches, with little boots, the littlest boots they could find. They put them on the end of my crutches and like duct taped them on and all this. And then they put skis on my feet.
Yeah.
And then I remember just walking out the side door onto the snow, trying to keep 4 skis all going the same direction. I have no control of my feet, so they're just going to go willy-nilly. And but I got on the snow.
But you were fighting with tempting fate. You were like, hey man, let's do this.
Yeah. So when I got in the bucket ski, that was magic.
So much safer. Much safer.
Well, thank you for giving us the information on the early days.
No worries. Enjoy.
All right. So I'm curious, beyond that, there, the mono ski, now when we've got less and less function, and we need more adaptation and more accommodations. What do you guys come up with?
Yeah. So, actually going back to the early days, the first mono ski was actually on a leaf spring. And we had one in our shed, and I was like, looking at it, looked like the front end of a bobsled attached to a leaf spring attached to a ski. And it was just like crazy.
Wow.
But,
Yeah.
And honestly, like I've been blessed through just having access to like even see a lot of this stuff. Like our equipment storage was basically a museum for a while. So it was really cool to see all like where we came from.
Yeah.
If that makes
Yes.
But yeah, so monoski, most independent, basically T4 or lower. There's another one that's called a dual ski, which is like our more common one, which is called a bi-ski. But basically, it's a ski that has an articulation unit that the bottom of it, anytime you tilt it over, they both tilt together.
Okay.
So somebody who doesn't have as much trunk control, but does have arm strength, can push from side to side with their shoulders and their body and allow that articulation unit to commit with them and help make the turn. So with the development of parabolic skis or shaped skis, basically that it has a side cut. Anytime it tilts over, it wants to turn. So the bi-ski and the dual ski both have those articulation units that allow, again, the user to basically push from one side to the other to make turns happen, rather than having to be really balanced and really like do this really top heavy finesse turn, which for those that have the body control is amazing, but for those that don't, it can be a really difficult thing to master.
Yeah, they still get to enjoy it. That's awesome.
Yeah, so the dual ski is a more athletic version of the bi-ski. The bi-ski has asymmetrical skis, so the ski shape's a little bit different to make it turn a little easier, but it does not perform quite as athletically or responsive as the dual ski. So the bi-ski is basically, before we came out with our other two skis, which we'll talk about in just a little bit, it was kind of our bread and butter for a whole lot of disabilities. So that was basically everything that wasn't a monoskier went into the bi-ski, and that was the only answer that we had for a very long while, which did help for a whole lot of people. For the folks that did have some kind of arm control, they could use hand riggers and push from side to side to make their turns. Obviously, the more you push, the more you turn, the more speed control you get. So in a very basic way of describing it, that's kind of how that works. But for some folks that didn't have quite maybe the arm control needed to help with hand riggers, it also had a fixed rigger option, which was a game changer for a whole lot of folks. Think like quadriplegic CP, where they maybe don't have control of their arm functions, but they can kind of guide movements. Well, they could just sit back in a chair, and the bottom two skis here had outriggers that came out to the side and went on the snow. So they could tilt over from side to side just by leaning their body without using their arms at all, to create turn shape and to create some speed control. The bi-ski is also a huge step towards like assistance, because when we ski with the bi-ski, we can also have the instructor attached to them with those same tethers that we use for stand-up skiing, but we can use it to help control speed. We can use it to help encourage a lean into a turn, or help finish a turn, or help pull somebody out of a turn. So the tethers really help allow the instructor to help a tremendous amount for that. And then for folks that maybe don't even have the body control to be able to lean into their turns, we can also offer a full assist ride, which is basically where our instructors are holding on to the back of the ski and tilting it for them, and giving them a great experience to be able to go out and experience the whole mountain. And there's quite a few folks to this day that is their preferred method of skiing, because
Right. Why not?
our instructors are pretty skilled in skiing and skiing with bi-skis, so we can go pretty fast, which creates an experience for a lot.
Yeah, I get it.
I was
I
going to
get
say
it.
that when you were describing those things, I was like, you guys have to be really athletic, really good at what you do, because it's like skiing with a shopping cart with a person in it and trying to maintain yourself.
You had me at skiing backwards.
I know, right? I was like, whoa.
Well, and
Like, I
I,
can't even stand up in the snow. You're like, hold on, I'll just ski that way. What?
Well, and then skiing on its own is like a task by itself, but then all of the crowds from Southern California that
for sure,
experience the same slopes, it tends to be a bit tricky at times, but we have a lot of experience, and we've been doing it a long time, and safety is always our number one priority. And
Yeah.
That was the fascinating thing about, you're going down the hill and there's people going every different direction and speed and there's this like chess-like quality to it.
Where's Waldo?
Because you're going somewhere and there's somebody there where you want to go, but you have to calculate they're going to be gone by the time you get there, or somebody's coming to that spot where you're going. How do you get there at a time when they're not there? Do you try to get ahead of them, a little behind them? What do you do to adjust that? That's ongoing the whole time you're coming down the hill.
Planning is definitely a big portion of what we teach here. So, and then not only that, but then things like tethering a stand-up skier, tethering a bi-skier. It's like driving a big rig on a freeway, but everyone's going all different speeds and everyone wants to go their own speed and they think they're better than everyone.
Yeah.
So so that plays a big role into it too. So it's pretty tricky, but ultimately it's very safe. We have a great time. We provide a really amazing service for a lot of folks. But yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It's a complicated, lots of moving parts, but you didn't show up yesterday and say, I know how to ski and I'll try this tomorrow. Like, no.
Yeah.
So you provide obviously like more in-depth training, because you said in our training, we study the disabilities and stuff. Like, how does that work? Like, what's the average age of like someone who would either volunteer or be, I guess, more full-time person that would work on your guys' behalf to assist someone like me who can't do squat by myself?
Is that a technical term?
Question. So we allow junior volunteers to join us at 16. And until they're 18, they have to be a junior volunteer, which means they're there to help with lifting, to help with like an extra person to like give somebody a reference to like follow me type of skier, or visual aids, that type of stuff, but aren't really hands-on with the equipment or with the student directly.
No people are tethered to them.
Yeah.
I got you.
And then 18 or older, I would say our staff tends to be a little bit more on the, I don't know. we range pretty wide. So, we have staff members that have been closer to like 20 to 25. I'd say the majority of our staff is somewhere like in the 30s, 40s realm at this point. And then I would say, as far as our volunteer base goes, the majority of our instructors are the folks that have the time to give, which tends to be those folks that are retired. And they come out and they work for us, and everyone's stoked to have them. And it's great. It's really an awesome thing to, share passions and to watch people succeed at what you love to do. So,
right.
Is there a minimum of ability level with a volunteer?
So for skiing, we've taught many of instructor that came to us who didn't know how to ski. Our biggest thing that we go into it with is we can't teach somebody to have a heart for helping people. Yeah. We can teach somebody how to ski.
Yeah. So it's better to teach somebody with a heart to ski than it is to find a skier that doesn't have the heart. Yeah. They're not going to show up anyway. So
and they end up weeding themselves out too. Which at the end of the day, we're stoked to have anybody who wants to be here. And if you want to be here, we're going to help put some energy and effort back into you to not only help improve your skills, but also improve your ability to give back. Yeah. So awesome. Again, centered around safety and keeping everybody and everything safe. So
character refinement through non-spoken lessons, right?
Cool. So let's finish the last two pieces of technology for the skiing world, and then we can kind of move on to the next.
I like it.
So just recently, actually, we got through a grant our snow cart, which is basically a sit ski that was developed by Tessier. which is a French company. But it's a sit ski that for folks that don't have the use of triceps, basically spinal cord injuries above like a C7 typically, that have limited or no use of triceps, which is what's required to be successful in a biski. They came out with a ski that has 2 lever arms on it. And basically the skier holds onto these lever arms. And by pulling in this side naturally goes out. And by pulling in this side naturally goes out. And through turn shape and again, tethering and assistance from an instructor, they can control their own turns. It feels very much like a go-kart on the snow hill. It's very responsive. It turns really quickly. It's been a game changer for that like C5 incomplete to like C7, C8, that realm of spinal cord injuries, which is a pretty wide variety of skiers. It's been a real game changer because they can control their own speed. They can control everything they're doing. And basically the instructor is only acting as a brake when needed. So it's a very independent piece of technology for somebody who has very limited mobility and strength. So that in itself was a super cool piece of technology. And then the University of Utah, along with the Craig H. Nielsen Foundation and the hospital up there, they started it as a student project, but have kind of refined it over the years. But they came out with something that's called the Tetra ski. And the Tetra ski is honestly one of the most revolutionary pieces of equipment I think we've had in a couple of decades. And the reason I say that is because it allows the skier to be able to control their own speed and turn shape and control and everything with the use of either a joystick or a sip and puff. So
amazing.
To give you an idea, there's numerous folks across the US that have skied with that particular ski that are on ventilators. So pretty wild.
Rewinding time for them a bit, right? Because the machine keeps them going. So
yeah. So it's really cool to see the independence again that comes through a piece of technology like that. And then a little shameless plug in here. We are actually in the process of trying to add snow kart and Tetra ski to the Paralympics. 1 national race and 2 international races now that have gotten people from all over the US, all over the world to come together and ski together. And it's pretty amazing. We're actually working with a couple of Paralympic course setters and things like that. I was able to go up to Utah and participate with a bunch of other coaches. There was 38 racers this year, which was pretty amazing, especially considering that every single person there has some sort of quadriplegic disability where all 4 limbs are affected for sure. Most that are C8 or above. So pretty wild to get that many people together and all racing on the same course, and pretty amazing.
awesome.
All these thoughts are flooding my mind, and I'm thinking that's got to fuel your passion, obviously.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. And
it helps that SoCal this is the second year in a row we brought home first place for snow kart, and then this is our first time bringing home first place for Tetra ski this year. So we're pretty honored to be a part of it, and then the fact that we're competitive with it is really cool.
No, that is cool.
So is there a competition at Bear Mountain for this?
We are working toward developing a race here. So we started with the international race because that was just the easiest way to try and put it together. And then since then, there's been 3 or 4 other programs that have created regional races. So currently the regional race for our region would be in Arizona at Snow Bowl. There's one in New Hampshire. There's one in Colorado. And I think that's pretty much it as of right now. But again, we just started the whole regionals part of it.
But there must be many organizations like yours that are thinking along the same lines and starting to develop, and have designs on that. Yeah.
To give you an idea of how many are out there, there's 24 total Tetra skis in the world in existence. There's 3 in Europe. There's 2 in Canada. There's a bunch in the US. And then we're working on actively growing to more communities and more countries. So one of the things we're looking at is to be considered for a Paralympic sport, you have to be involved in 8 different countries that are competing. And currently we're in 6. So that's one of the hiccups that we're running into. Also, we may end up falling under a different category or a different purview. Like I think it's all considered alpine skiing. So, but either way, we want to get it out there. We want to make it more accessible for folks to have access to it and to be able to come out and compete because it's something super cool.
So does USARC have one of these pieces of equipment?
We do. And this is our 4th season having the Tetra ski, and it's been a real blessing for our program. It's been really cool to see people. It seems like every lesson that we have in that piece of equipment is like a tearjerker lesson.
Oh gosh.
Right? How could it not be?
I'm just thinking about it. I'm tearing up. Absolutely. So and then also I'm wondering if there's 38 competitors and there's only 24, you say, of these devices in the world?
Yes.
Right. So they're not competing. It's a timed event. So multiple people are using the same equipment.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So all the instructors go and they bring all the equipment to Utah so that we can all complete, like we race it in 3 different waves and
so everybody gets a turn.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. So talking about this is kind of like even if they don't want to do the Tetra ski and Paralympics, how do people get involved if they're like, oh my God, I would love to ski and I can't?
Yeah. And is it just Southern California or do you take people from around the country, world?
Our program works with anybody who comes through here. Obviously, you have to have a reservation. So we do everything via phone call at this point. So you can reach out to our office at any time if you have any questions. We're happy to kind of talk you through our options and what's out there. But our number is 909-584-0269. And you can always reach us at mail@usarc.org. And we can put up a slide at the end of this so I can send you all the information.
And we'll we'll get into all the other social media things and all that. We'll wrap it up with that stuff. Yeah. And then so that sounds like that covers the winter. Well, skiing at least. Is there other things besides skiing in the winter that you do? Or?
Not typically.
Okay, so when the snow melts,
we're 7 days a week during the winter, so we stay pretty busy.
Yeah. So during the snow melts, what do you pivot to?
So at the end of our snow season, one of our newest events is we do an adaptive off-roading event where we go out and side by sides, and we so right off the backside of Big Bear, there is Johnson Valley, which is world renowned for one of the biggest single day off-road races in the world, called King of the Hammers, which is actually this.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, cool.
But the guy that runs King of the Hammers, which is like it's massive. It's a really, really, really big event. But he actually heard about our program through one of his workers who is a volunteer of ours. And we set it up where he donates his facility, which is like a big 100 by 100 warehouse in the middle of the desert that's like all on solar and water hookups, and it's amazing. But Dave Cole is his name, and he lends us his facility for the weekend and gives us access to his crew, his safety recovery team, and a lot of those other things to help put on a really safe, awesome event where people can come out and experience what the off-road world has to offer for folks with disabilities. So at this point, we pretty much just offer rides for folks. We do also have a few individuals that have their own rigs that are on hand controls and things like that. One of the better known ones is Chris Blaze, who's come out for the last couple of years. He is actually in the professional racing circuit. He is a para that races a side-by-side in the professional racing circuit. So he's been a great addition to our program for that world. And every year we're growing. So this was the third year, and we had just about 100 folks at the event this year. So it was really cool.
Now, have you seen the four-wheeled quad cycles that are they're not crank, but they're gravity fed? You've seen those.
So that's our next one, right?
Gotcha.
So going through the calendar. So January through March, we do winter, our winter activities, which is skiing, snowboarding. Typically in April is our off-road event. And then sometime, usually around the end of May, we start our adaptive mountain biking. So we have four-wheel independent, each wheel suspension. We call them chariots, but basically they're gravity-fed mountain bikes that are shaped similar to a wheelchair in the back with the canted wheels, and then handlebars in the front that allow you to turn and control your speed and all-wheel braking. And
instead of the small casters, you've got full-size wheels in the front too, right?
Yeah, they are amazing, and I'm happy to I have a few videos up on YouTube that I can reference for this too. But at this point, we're limited to paras, so folks that have full arm function, hand control. Due to the nature of the bike, we have to know that you can 100% of the time be able to grab those brakes and slow yourself down.
Yeah.
Right.
And full cognitive function has to be involved with that as well. Like,
and
safety is our main priority.
When you see the videos, that becomes abundantly clear why you need that function. Yes.
Yeah.
You're all an ass.
It is amazing. So we started that last summer, and we served about 20 or so mountain bikers last year, and the response was unanimous. This is the coolest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
Much less since I've been injured.
Now, do they use the ski slopes? Is that what they use? The snow melts, they just convert them to,
Yeah. So we ride the chairlift up. We transfer from the bike to the chair. Then we put the bike up on the chair behind or in front of them. And then we go up the chairlift. We take the bike off at the top. We transfer them from the chairlift back to the bike. And the rest is gravity's job. So
Right. And bombs away, peeps. Nice.
But it's
awesome.
It's super cool, super amazing to be a part of, and just to again watch the smiles that people get. Like, a lot of folks with spinal cord injuries got those spinal cord injuries from hobbies and activities where there was a lot of adrenaline involved, and most folks, after they end up in a wheelchair, struggle to find that same type of sport that's going to allow them to have that opportunity. And
we have seen many of those.
Yeah. I was going to say, something we talk a lot about here is that, just because you have a spinal cord injury, that mindset doesn't leave you. You still got it. Yeah.
So mountain biking is a huge one that fills that niche, along with mono skiing for sure. Tends to fill that. But but yeah, so mountain biking, we only have those gravity fed 4-wheel bikes, but we are looking like on the horizon. We're looking at trying to get some hand pedal assist bikes that would keep it from being a para only sport to going to, they have quad grips and quad brakes that are accessorizable with the the mountain bikes that they have now on the market. We're just waiting. We got to have the funds before we could do that.
I hear that.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, goals are good.
So that kind of leads us nicely into, the question, how are you funded? Are there grants, fundraisers, benefactors? How's that work?
All of the above. As a nonprofit, we don't really say no to money. If we can help ease that process along for any of those routes, we're happy to do that and exploring any of those ways. We do have 3 big fundraisers a year. We have a snow skiing fundraiser that is in March, or at least it has been in March the last few years, that you can come up. It's typically about $250 to come up, and you get to skip lines on a Saturday at Bear Mountain, which is basically unheard of. So that's our big fundraiser for the winter time. It also comes with food and a shirt, and you get to see all of the other things that we do. It's also a participant friendly day. So you get to see a lot of our folks and who we serve out on the hill and watch it all in action. So, and then the off-roading event currently is structured as a fundraiser, whereas people with their own off-road vehicles can come out and just do a run with us and help support by purchasing a ticket on that run. We do it as a poker run currently. So that's a fundraiser. And then we also do a big bike ride in October. That's a 5-day fully supported bike ride where people ride from Bear Mountain, where we are, to Mammoth Mountain, which is 335 miles and over 15,000 feet of elevation gain. And it sounds like a whole heck of a lot, but it's really awesome to be a part of it. And there's a lot of camaraderie and support. So you don't have to ride every mile of it. We're happy to pick you up and move you to wherever you want to go. We have some folks that just have decided over the years that they don't like riding the uphills, and they just
come to town. That's awesome. No judging.
So fun.
So is that able-bodied bike riders, and are there some disabled bike riders that go?
Yes, absolutely. So awesome. We have a guy named Frank who's been coming out and supporting that ride for a long while. He's a double above the knee amputee, and he rides a hand cycle. He did it the first numerous years on a not powered assist bike. And now he uses a power assist bike. And then last year we had a new adaptive rider join us, who is also a para, who came out and rode the majority of it on a standard bike. So yeah, it's
amazing.
Really cool.
That's I'm making that transition myself. Yeah, the looking for something with electric assist for those hills.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
awesome. And then also the other thing too, I'm just curious of the cost for the participants.
So we're pretty heavily subsidized, again, through those 3 main fundraisers, some grant funding, definitely a lot of donors throughout the year that donate monetarily to support and help offset those costs for participants. To give you an idea, our winter program this past season, we charged $170 for a full day lesson, which is 5 hours to 2.5 hour sessions. That includes lift ticket, rentals for the day, and private instruction. To give you an idea, we charge $170. It's typically about $165 for a lift ticket for somebody to just come skiing. A lot of that's through support of, again, Big Bear Mountain Resorts. They donate a whole heck of a lot to our program, and they believe in what we do just as much as we do. So they're huge proponents of how we can keep it so affordable.
Amazing.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about mountain biking, going through our season a little bit more. Typically in June, we start our Snow Summit Adventure Days, again, through Big Bear Mountain Resorts. They have our sister resort that's in Big Bear has a rock wall, a bungee trampoline, a zip line, a tubing hill, hiking trails, the sky chair, panning
Tons
for
of stuff.
treasures. So for those with cognitive disabilities, being that area is really not quite so accessible, or those activities aren't quite so accessible, we provide for cognitive disabilities an opportunity to go out and experience all of those activities, which tends to be a pretty big hit, actually. There's a lot of folks that have a lot of fun. Usually we're like trying to pry the harness off of them after they get on the zip line. They just want to keep going and going and going and going.
You had your turn. It's time to take a rest.
But we do that basically through the whole summer season. So typically in June through the end of August, most commonly.
And that's weekdays and weekends?
Weekdays.
Weekdays, okay.
Our calendar's all up on our website, so that would be the best way to figure out when those happen. A lot of our events during the summer, because we are a tourist town, it's really difficult to ensure safety on the weekends when there's a whole lot of people out.
Yeah.
So outside of mountain biking, which is only available on the weekends for us currently, yeah.
Okay. And I asked because I know some organizations that might like to avail you of some of those possibilities and opportunities. So yeah.
Yeah.
And it's good for them during the week. So we'll see what we can do.
Along with our Snow Summit Adventure Days, we also, on the water, we talked a little bit about it earlier on, but we do have like paddle sports, fishing, and sailing days that are kind of littered throughout the summer. Usually it's a combination of two of them, but we have a 20-foot Catalina sailboat that seats six. That's actually built. It's called the Independence. The hull is built to be manned by two paras. So you can operate everything on the boat from two swivel seats. Typically, we take one of them out because we just don't need to have the driver usually be a part of that. But we have our instructors and captains and whatnot to go out and teach people the ins and outs of sailing, how it all works, what we're looking at, and how to utilize what nature has to offer, which is the wind, to control our speed. So that's a really fun opportunity. Also in the sailing world, much like the Tetra ski is in the summer or in the wintertime, we have a Tetra sail, which again, the University of Utah developed on a Hobie sailboat. It's essentially a two-person kayak with two almas that come out on the sides. So it stays super stable and has a sail, and they hooked it all up to the same Tetra technology. So through the use of two sip and puffs or a sip and puff and a joystick, they can control everything on this sailboat. That means motor speed up, motor speed back, the rudder control, furling, unfurling, letting out the sail, little bit of everything. So it's super cool to be a part of that too.
Yeah. Well, wow. You know, I've learned something today. DJ has the coolest job ever.
I know, right?
Wow.
You're in the wrong job.
I get paid to play.
Yeah.
Help people play.
Yeah. Most people, you know, they're going through the week and looking forward to the weekend. You're getting through the weekend.
Like,
I got to get back to work. I got to have some more fun.
Yeah.
That is
so
awesome.
it's a lot of fun. So, yeah, that sailboat is actually out for our paddle sports and sailing days, as well as our next thing, which is our water skiing days or water sports days. We have a boat with some pretty cool technology on that as well that allows, we do adaptive water skiing is our biggest draw. So to give you an idea, we have a sit down water ski that people can control their own turns. They can get up on their own. They can hold the handle. They can not hold the handle. They could do whatever they want to do on the water ski, as well as standard stand-up skis and wakeboards and all kinds of other things. So our goal is getting people out there and sharing the stoke because it's really awesome.
I'm feeling that.
With the water sports stuff, we do tubing, which is where we pull an inner tube behind a jet ski, which is a lot of fun for a lot of folks. Again, that adrenaline side of things. And then we have stand-up paddle boards, kayaks, all kinds of fun stuff, fishing. So yeah, we do that 2 days a week. Basically starting the week after 4th of July and going through typically around the end of August. And we do those on Wednesdays and Thursdays. And then on top of that, we have a few overnight sessions or camping sessions where people can come up and camp with us. We camp in tents. And we have a campground up here that's pretty close to where we go out on the lake, and we do full camping. So through all of that,
like roughing it in a tent type camping?
In a tent.
Good deal, the real thing.
Campfires every night, s'mores, tent camping. Yep.
Yeah.
You're just showing them there's a different door to the life they had before. It's just the side door.
Yep, absolutely. There's no reason you can't do anything that you did before. It just looks a little different.
You're running people out of excuses.
That's it.
You're either their best friend or their worst enemy.
Yeah. So do we cover everything? Is there anything else? I mean,
that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I really don't think that was enough. Like I think you have just failed to do very much in your whole program. You need to rewrite.
And I want to make sure
there's all kinds of things on the horizon.
That's my next question. Well. I wanted to make sure you got all the stuff in that you are doing already, but I'm sure you have, dreams and visions of what is to come.
Yeah, of course. I mean, archery, shooting, I think there's definitely a need there for folks to do those more focus-based sports.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Again, focused more toward guiding people toward avenues toward the Paralympics, and creating hobbies that are going to give people something to look forward to.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah. All right. So, we established all of this is on the website, which is on our website, which has been there forever, USARC.org. It's on our resources page. So you've got calendar, so you can figure out when all of this stuff is, all of that, right? And start the process of making reservations, everything on the website.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then for anybody who hasn't been with our organization before, if you want to give us a call, we're happy to add you to our database to give you, put you onto our mailing list. So you get the updated, like when reservations open up for the various different seasons, what things are out there, what things are on the horizon, how people can get involved. All of that stuff is typically we send that out on our mailing list, as well as following us on our social media pages. And both of those are how you really stay up to date with us
and connected. Okay, so we have a question we always ask.
Yep.
And we ask this question because we like to show the variety, basically the spice of life for no matter who and what you are. So if you've never heard our show before, it's a surprise. If you've heard our show, then you know what's coming.
Okay.
How long does it take you to put on pants, socks, and shoes?
Oof. Depends how late I am.
Good answer. Good answer.
Yes. And that is precisely why we asked the question.
Yeah, ski boots a little bit different than normal traditional shoes. But yeah, I guess it could also depend on the season that you're in.
Right.
Snow boots are a bit harder to lace up than tennis shoes that you can slide on. So,
So your winter time is slower than your summertime.
yes, yes. And the amount of layers that you put on in the winter, quite a bit different.
Not just one pair of pants. I like
You
it.
have a if-then chart. If it's winter and below these degrees, I must start with long underwear. If it's,
Basically, yes.
I got you.
Yep.
I don't want to go off on another tangent, but now it's making me kind of think that your participants that come up during the winter, it's cold. Do they have to bring their own like ski pants and all of the stuff they need?
So we provide the hard equipment.
Yeah.
So boots, skis, helmet. That's
All
basically
the stuff that isn't in your closet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, random.
Equipment.
Yeah.
Okay.
So typically, you provide your own clothing. For sit skiers, we do have options like we call it a burrito, but it's like a blanket that zips up around your legs. So it keeps your legs, one, waterproof, but also warm. Due to the lack of circulation, temperature, and thermoregulation is a big concern. So
That's for sure.
Good.
we do to stay safe again.
Yeah. Good. I just wanted to know because that way you can plan. As you're planning, go into the calendar and planning your trip up. You know what to plan for. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, DJ. It's a pleasure having you on and filling us with lots of information. Thank you for joining us on Walk and Roll Live.
Each week on Walk and Roll Live, we share honest and open stories of people living with a disability.
I was excited to show my family just how much better of a skier I got to be. So we went up on December 30th. Then the next morning, I woke up 10 out of 10 pain. Chest, back, head. I slowly lost all feeling from my feet all the way up to my chest, that I was paralyzed, essentially. I didn't understand what was happening. All I knew is that something scary was going on. And
Join us weekly for another powerful episode. Walk and Roll Live, wherever you get your podcasts. Life Limitless. Subscribe now.
So this is an amazing story because being as old as I am now, I still have a traumatizing story of when I was in 6th grade going to Yosemite, and they take us in the winter to take people skiing and snowshoeing and all this stuff, right? Well, I couldn't do squat because balance in general, I'm a gravity, defier anyway. So I got to sit and clap for people and get frostbite, in which the guy had to put my feet in his armpits to warm my feet up. So now, hearing about this, I'm like, dude, I want to ski someday. I'm kind of like you, Doug. You see people and it looks so freeing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I want to do this. So I feel like there will be a trip in my future to wintertime, USARC seeing it, but also the Tetra ski is freaking amazing.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize how much work goes into being dedicated to create something like that. And the fact that there are so few in the world, and then they're kind of spearheading making this thing where the people that are passionate about it can come together. Whoa, that's true dedication, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the great things that I learned from this story with USARC and a few other organizations, because there has been adaptive type equipment out there forever. I mean, I've been driving 45 years, and there were hand controls already when I was starting to drive when I was young. But that was the thing about it, is they're not just stagnant with whatever equipment they have. If there's a new person that comes along, because we've talked about how unique we all can be, if there's a specific person that has the same diagnosis but has different needs, they're going to set about trying to find a way to solve those issues so they can
for
enjoy
sure.
it too. Yeah.
I love that because I mean, you can see two things in this whole conversation: compassion and passion, which like is a perfect synergy because never in the conversation, like when he's explaining all the different things, do I feel like any of the people that they use them with are a burden. It's like they have a flame for enjoying alongside with the people. And it's, you know how they always say, like, you never work a day in your life if you do something you love.
Yeah.
Like just how he's talking about being a volunteer and then becoming, you know, more of an integral, like true employee of the program and stuff. And even when the young lady like told us more of the history, you can tell that this passion like embeds itself in them and they live it. They probably are like, oh, it's 5 o'clock already. It's time to go home. Which gives so much more of a better experience for us. Cause even just how we're talking in the opening about feeling like the sore thumb, like there's no sore thumb syndrome over there. You can tell. So, right. I mean, that's beautiful.
Did I tell you the story? And I forgive me if I have already, but because we talk, you know, other than the show, so I can't remember where we talk about it on here or at, off the show, but I went to get my van looked at a couple of weeks ago.
No.
Well, I got to talking with him and I said, I saw on Instagram, this is, you know, where the adaptive organization that my ramp was sometimes not opening, you know, so sometimes it trapped me inside the van and one time it wouldn't let me in the van.
Is it related to your smart drive?
No. But there might be a conspiracy here between technologies. Yeah.
It's like Toy Story.
But so I was telling them about, you know, I saw on Instagram a gal that was driving with just a joystick.
Okay.
Quadriplegic. And and they said, oh, we're working on a van right now. So they took me back out into the shop. Brand new Pacifica, I think, van.
Okay.
Looked like somebody had dropped a bomb in it because it was just the door panels are off. There are wires everywhere.
Yeah.
You'd be shocked at how many wires are just in a door, you know, of a vehicle, you know, so all this. Well, then they were showing me one box that they hadn't mounted it yet, but there was a place where they were going to mount a handle. That's where you push this thing forward, it would go and you pull it back for brake.
Okay.
And then there was another box that had a wheel on it that couldn't have been more than maybe 5 inches diameter.
Okay.
And they were going to mount some, like a ball or something on that. And that's how you steered the car.
Oh, wow. Okay.
This van. And the van was off the showroom floor was probably $100,000, you know, because it had all the bells and whistles. You know. But then with them adding a ramp, adding all of this technology so they could drive it was another $120,000. And I got to contact them because I think it may be just about, they've been working on it for a couple of months and they said within a week or two, it'll be finished. So I want to go back and kind of see it all, maybe take some pictures and share them here.
No, that'd be awesome. Yeah. I mean, it does give me hope because like for me, even though I can technically do like hand controls and a left-footed brake, because of my depth perception issues too, it's like too much going on at one time and I don't want to hurt anybody. And that's why I don't drive. But I mean, if we converted it all to my left hand, like I could do it. But again, you're pointing out the fact that you need the economics in order to be able to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. So all right. So moving forward, anything else? USARC, who we talked about today, is on the website. It's on the resource page. Check that out. A couple other things that I threw up there too, that I've added that I kind of came across. So I put those up there.
Cool.
So always new stuff there. If there's anything that you have found that you'd like to share with us, please drop us an email at warlive@walkandrolllive.com. You can find it on the website at walkandrolllive.com and just drop us a note. Anything you want to share with us. We'd love to hear about it. Next week, we have a young man named Atif Moon, and he's an athlete and, you know, so much more.
Interesting story.
Yeah. So we'll do the deep dive into Atif's story next week here on Walk and Roll Live. And thank you for listening. I'm your host, Doug Vincent, with Addie Rich. Couldn't do it without her. From the USARC Professional Training Studio, this has been Walk and Roll Live. Disability Stories, Life Limitless.